that they have just decided to accede to. No, I don't know the full scope of what is going on. I was hoping George could shed some light, but that's certainly something that seems to have taken us everybody by surprise. I mean, most of
Yeah,
the people who I talk to have
not your
not.
humble servant,
Uh,
not your humble servant. Those are the issues that I'm banging on the desk on a regular basis in terms of
oh, so you are aware
where
of
we're
what?
going, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why do it the way we're doing it compared to a better way that could probably result favorable to us, you know?
So you're saying you're quite aware of what is going on.
Yes, sir. It's my
Would
responsibility to
you
be.
would you care to put it in a little nutshell for me? What exactly is happening with this, and what is the Bogota Treaty?
Okay. First of all, it's not Bogota, it's Bogota.
Okay, you say
There's
tomato,
a
I say
G-O, Bogo, Bogo,
you
not Boga,
you say
Bogota.
tomato, you say tomato, I say tomato.
Okay,
I
that's
might be
fine. That's fair
speaking
enough.
Creole.
That's fair enough.
I might be speaking Creole. All right, but that's the
That's
proper
fair enough.
pronunciation. All right, no problem. Yeah,
It's a city in Colombia
right.
where they had a meeting of the OAS. You know, every once in a while they have these meetings and they get together and they make different treaties or different things based on what's going on internally to the structure of the OAS and to
Okay,
try and make things work smoothly.
right.
So in this case, there's an agreement that was assented to by all the, well, not all. There were some objections, but by the majority of the Organization of American States,
Hmm.
and agreed that certain matters will be taken up under certain conditions and dealt with under certain conditions when it reaches a certain point where it cannot be dealt with anymore. Uh, Such as, for example, the same scenario where we were recommended to go to the ICJ by
Okay,
the OAS.
right.
There was no need for the OAS to have made that recommendation in the first place. I'm diverting, of course, because the point came up now. We are where we are, but there was no need for the OAS to have recommended us to go to the ICJ on that matter. What our government should have been doing all the while was complaining to the United Nations general body when we go there for these meetings that we always go and have, and
Hmm.
also to the Security Council to demand that our borders, the integrity of our borders, which is guaranteed under the UN Charter, um, for Guatemala to stop violate that as a member of the UN himself. And
But you,
but I don't want to go further into that.
no,
That's a
no, no,
diversion.
no, no, no,
Stay with
because
the point that you was trying to
right.
carry
As
on. You know.
I was trying to establish what
Yes, sir.
is the Bogota. How you guys pronounce it again?
Bogota, Bogo,
Bogota. Bogota.
ah,
The emphasis is on the last syllable. That's what you're saying. Bogota treatment. Okay. Now the Bogota treatment you're saying um, is saying that which what you said there to me when I make a
I
whole
did
lot of
not complete the statement though. If you
obviously,
permit me,
obviously,
I
yeah.
did not complete. I diverted, and then I want to go back to the original thing to make sure I was understood clearly. You know, and I want to be misunderstood. So, if you allow me, sir, can I proceed on that? Back to
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, okay, thank you. Um, what happened is Honduras, Guatemala, and Belize had an option where the 2000 Ramphal-Weicker proposal was stipulating that we would take certain part of our national waters and delimit them. So would Honduras, in order to allow Guatemala to have a fair access to the high sea. But then they
That
went one step further.
but hold on. You're talking about the Maritime Areas Act.
No. That's a different. The Maritime Areas Act is something different than the 2000 Ramphal-Weicker proposal. They
Okay.
incorporate some elements, but there are two different issues on
You said
documents.
proposal. Did it pass? Was it
It was
accepted?
proposed. It was never accepted. It was never dealt with in substance by either Belize, Guatemala, or Honduras. But the items or the elements still remain out there to be dealt with and to be resolved. And the fact is that in the first instance, our foreign affairs people are not doing us justice by educating the public about what these matters are, and they're talking craziness about they can't speak to these matters because their lawyers are advising them to not disclose nothing or to say nothing. They're working for us, the people of Belize, and the people of Belize need to know what the hell these people are agreeing to and are not agreeing to behind the scene, and have us in hot water when they're in and or out of government.
Well, you must understand that there are some things cannot be discussed, or it might prejudice the case,
That
right?
is the pretext.
Well,
And I
yes.
agree with you that there are some things that do need
But
sometimes.
I also agree with you that more should be done to educate the people about these matters. Now,
At
in
the end of the
particular,
day, we are the arbiter of those issues.
but this
We cannot.
Bogota
Sorry.
Treaty was not signed. Was not there was not a 2000 thing. This is not one late thing, now. This is a
No, it's
1948.
different. It's different issues. Remember, I'm telling you that we have different elements. Remember, I mentioned earlier that there are different elements that are transcending these time periods and are being dealt with. Okay, a synopsis to the whole issue, Mr. Chairman, is for me to say to you that the whole of this Bogota agreement side wanting to deal with Honduras as regards to the part of the maritime problems that we have is because our current government is going through some stressful and very dangerous steps dealing with the Belize-Guatemala issue in front of the ICJ currently. And they're just trying to create a red herring to divert people's attention or people's focus from being able to capture the difficulties that we will be undergoing. That again, they say they cannot discuss and say anything to us until probably after the deal is done, which means we'll have to live with the consequence, the outcome, regardless. These guys are playing shell game and are hiding behind shells, and leaving us out there. I mean, it pisses me off so much to the point where sometimes I get aggravated and I can't even focus properly or stay with a clear mind because of so much different things happening all at the same time.
Can you put in a nutshell exactly what the Bogota Treaty says as it pertains to Belize and Honduras? What does it say? Does it say that we accept the fact that they have a claim on the Sapodilla Keys?
No. It's the Bogota agreement was based or contingent on process for dealing with issues.
And how to deal with them, apparently, huh? Are you there?
Having a right, well, not having a right, but wanting to do what Guatemala is now successfully doing. That we have assisted Guatemala to do, therefore Honduras is expecting us to assist them to do as well.
Do what? What is that they're doing?
Our southern waters are not properly
demarcated.
Accepted. Well, it's demarcated, but it's not properly accepted by these two nations, Honduras and Guatemala. We have never had really a problem with Honduras until now. The problem has always been in Guatemala, and since Guatemala has been successful with our help, Honduras is saying, "Well, what the hell? I mean, you're gonna have an agreement with Guatemala, and then Guatemala is going to end up probably with a southern part of your water, which is adjacent to us, Honduras, southern." I mean, hold on,
Mr. Brackett, not run past that so fast, man. Guatemala is being successful against us in what way?
They got us to where we are today.
Where are we today? Where are we
at the ICJ?
Yes, but is that a bad thing?
I think if I'm to answer that question, we're going to end up going into a different discussion than where we were trying to clarify earlier.
But why can't you just answer? But why can't you just answer? But why can't you discussion? No, why can't you just answer yes or no? Because obviously, if you're saying it is where we are today, Guatemala got we where we are today at the ICJ, then you're suggesting that being at the ICJ is a bad thing as opposed to a good thing. Is that correct? Am I correct in suggesting that?
We've had this discussion before, Mr. Chairman, but I'll re-emphasize my point. Let me re-emphasize my point.
No, man. I can't make you get away with this all the time. Just answer the damn question, brother. is it a bad thing or a good thing that we are at the ICJ? Yes or no?
It is a bad
Simple.
thing.
Okay, that's it. All right, but then you could go on if you wanted to expound on that, but you have set the premise for your argument there. You think it's a bad thing. You would have to, explain to me why you think it's a bad thing, though.
Now, do you understand now? Why is it I try to
No, I don't
anticipate
understand.
or,
No,
or
no, I don't understand. I don't understand why you cannot answer a simple question, Mr. Brackett. That one question is simple, and then you move on from there. But you can't put on the particulars before you answer the question. Answer the question, then explain the thing, man. But no, let's
as far as I'm concerned, my
let's welcome Gregory first, sir. Greg, are you plugged in?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good
All
evening,
right.
all.
Good evening. Good evening.
good evening, Mr. Gregory. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. So it is a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. And so
Okay.
if you want me to respond on that, then I could. Or if you just wanted the answer,
No. If you can explain to me in just a brief language, not using
Let me
economy
try.
of words.
Yes, sir. Let me try.
Why do you think going to the ICJ is such a bad thing?
It is not so much just going to the ICJ being a bad thing. It's how we're there now
All right.
makes it a bad thing.
All right, so that you know what, that all right, because that one run us into deep water here. Make we bring Gregory on board to what we were talking about. Gregory, the hot topic on the day in Belize is this Bogota Treaty that they had a discussion in the Senate about, and a whole lot of hoopla. We're supposed to be joining with, we're joining them with the Guatemala, with the Honduras claim to the Guatemala claim, which there are a lot of questions surrounding it, because of course the Guatemala issue is going based on a referendum that was done between the two countries. There was no referendum in Honduras as to whether they want to go. So that, I don't know if that is wise in that regard. The second thing is, though, and I think Perfeet made a good enough point, now that I've seen the rest of the particulars, is that why at this late stage you're going to add them onto this? Why are you going to bring this in, which basically they have had a claim, they have written it in their constitution, that claim to the Zapadilla Keys, but now they have never been aggressive in pursuing that claim. We now apparently are the ones who have brought it up. But I was doing some research today, and some people are telling me that we have been trying to discuss this matter with Honduras, but we've got no response from them. We apparently sent them a letter or something. And my point was, well, I think what we should have done was be there, beating on somebody's door. We can't just say, all right, we don't get you to claim we want you to drop this, remove this from our constitution in good faith. I don't see why it cannot be done.
I understand that. I'll tell you the truth. I was not aware that there was a Honduras claim to Belize.
Neither was I. Nobody was.
Yeah.
Very few
Mr.
people
Chairman?
was. Yes, sir.
Can I? There's something very salient that I would like to interject, if you allow me to, please. I know the floor belongs to Mr. Gregory.
Yeah, but hold on, Greg come back so he go hear where the second
right.
important, right? You gonna take off your TV.
Critically important, so that's the reason why I'm asking for the permission to verbalize. Okay.
Yeah.
What happened is that Belize cannot and should not be making any final arrangement with Guatemala as regards to all southern territories. First of all, okay, let me stay with the point. Because once we do that, causes Honduras to be triggered, in the sense that we cannot negotiate and or be bargaining something that they are making that they have an outstanding claim on.
But you're backing up into something we already done. We are at the ICJ, so we just got to move forward from there now.
But this thing came up now, after we have been at the ICJ.
Yeah,
I
but
know.
Not that it wasn't existing long before we got
let me
there.
deal with that.
Okay.
That I agree with that with Gregory in that. And you and George are still fighting this fight, this no fight. You've lost that fight. That you have to
Why
give that up.
Why persist and repeat yourself ad nauseum, sir?
With what?
It
But
doesn't
that's
benefit the
what,
conversation.
but that's what you're doing. That's exactly what we're saying you shouldn't do. We have already discussed this ad nauseum. We have made
Sir,
that
I didn't
decision.
brought up the matter in the Senate. You're querying as to why is it that this matter was brought up in the Senate.
Yes,
I'm just
but
trying to
then
contextualize it for you.
No, you're not. We don't need that contextualizing there because what
Okay,
you're saying,
okay.
you're going back over why.
That's why we are where we are.
Yes, you're making an argument as to why we shouldn't be at the ICJ, but we are already there.
That's
Yeah.
different. That was
What you're
different.
missing.
That is that.
What
You're
is
focusing on that. You're focusing on that, and I'm trying to tell you that is different, and it's not the salient point. The salient point is that
why
we
do you
believe
keep focusing on
cannot.
that? You're the one that keeps focusing on that, sir. You're focusing on that.
Sir,
Yes.
I'll repeat what I said, hopefully to be understood clearer this time. Belize and Guatemala cannot be transacting territory that Guatemala does not own and Belize have a claim of ownership on. And just because Guatemala is trying to claim Belize, parts of Belize, and probably the whole of Belize, that we should be making an agreement, and Honduras is going to stand out there knowing that they have an issue with us.
Sir, when you make a statement like that, you can't just run past that. There's no agreement being made. Let me ask you a question. If you live in a house...
Sir, what is the ICJ going to result in?
May I ask you a question, sir? If you live in a house and your neighbor claims that the land you live on is his land, and that house is his land, how do you resolve that? Do you go to court or do you get a gun and go shoot the neighbor? Okay, if we get a gun and shoot him, we could try that, but I don't think we'll be very successful.
It's been happening in Belize and all over the world for thousands of years.
What has, sir?
Both cases, both scenarios that you presented just now.
So, and you think what scenario you think is the best to pursue?
None of the above.
You shouldn't go to court. What you should do, just live with that like that. And continue. Well, every day the neighbor to throw a word out there, or you feel living fair that the neighbor
Let me give you a typical example. Let me give you a typical example, if you may permit me. For example, Ukraine right now is having a major problem with Russia, and the only reason why Ukraine is not at the ICJ or dealing with the matters that they are confronting right now with the Soviet Union is because the Soviet Union is a nuclear power and one of the 5 members of the Permanent Security Board. Okay,
they have a veto.
So don't get right. They will veto just about anything. So going to court with them is almost irrelevant.
As the U.S. would. So I don't know why you bring
that.
Yeah, that is not. But that has nothing to do with this, sir. We discussed that also.
It's a scenario, sir. We just discussed about scenarios.
That what?
And the relevance of scenarios.
But how is it relevant?
And so I gave you one.
Matter? How is it? No, you not give. That's a scenario. Of course, I could give you any scenario. My dog outside barking after somebody when they do nothing. That's a scenario.
Now me they back out because he hear me through the TV.
All right. Then the matter is though that we are where we are. And
yes, sir.
I'm trying to figure out the Bogota Treaty.
Bogota,
Who introduced this? Did Honduras or did Belize just do it, hoping to preempt any move by Honduras to exert a claim on us? Yeah, George. Good night.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, sir.
Good night, sir.
You smell a gin. You weren't having a drink, were you? Anyway.
Let's keep our secret, G.
Let's go. Yeah. So, but George, I know, Gregory, I don't know if you got the economic thing that George sent. I tell you the truth, I'm no economist. And Leonard might correct me as is economist, but I'm saying I'm no student of the economy. But we were discussing the situation now on the front burner in Belize, with the Bogota Treaty being adjoined to our move to the ICJ. I really, for the most of the day today, I was running around trying to find out what is going on, what is this about. And as Gregory admitted, and I can agree, I didn't even know what Honduras had a claim to Belize, or a part of it anyway. Now that Bogota Treaty, but that Bogota Treaty and the way they're bringing it up and saying that's where the lack of information and education is so vital, you know.
And you know, sometimes, like you were saying, sometimes I think our government is truly at fault and negligent in not informing the people of what they're doing. I kind of hate get blindsided by our own government.
Exactly, but that will cause a big problem, Gregory. And again, I find that if this is really true, then our foreign Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been
corrupted.
I mean, have been just not corrupted, but just inadequate,
over multiple administrations.
Incompetent. They have not been doing a good enough job, because they're saying now, oh, well, we wrote a letter to Honduras. Honduras apparently put this in their constitution in 1982. This is a year after our independence now, that they think the Zapadilla Keys are theirs. Now, they have not been aggressive with the claim, and Belize says, well, we sent them a letter. They did not respond.
But also on that Zapadilla Key, I thought Guatemala had also claimed that.
They do. So I am saying maybe we should get rid of deal with the Guatemala issue, and if Honduras then comes up, at least have a smaller claim. They're not to claim half of Belize or all of Belize, then just to claim the Zapadilla Keys. So
But as far as Honduras is concerned, who are we, Belize, to be negotiating any territory that they hold a claim or pretend to have a claim on? Is the issue or the point?
We got to negotiate it.
We're an independent country, sir.
We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. If somebody come and
yes, but not only, but it's Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras having a claim to the same piece of land, and two parties cannot settle that claim.
We know that. That's what I just pointed out. That's what I just pointed out. Guatemala also claims the Zapadilla Key. In fact, the president of Guatemala used to go on vacation at the Zapadilla Key.
You remember that? That we knew about. That was
not only the president. Most of their diplomats and a lot of the top people in the Castilian hierarchy of the country goes there.
Yeah.
And the Ranguana Key and all of the southern keys are occupied by them.
You made a statement where you said two parties cannot negotiate over a matter where three countries are involved.
Yeah.
Because you have a settlement between the first two and still outstanding.
But we're not going.
We hope we dispel the Guatemalan claim, and then we dispel the Honduranian claim.
Not likely. Not likely, because we are at the ICJ currently with one issue or one country. We're not there with Honduras involved. We're not there with even Britain involved.
Hold up.
Who should have been our primary ally in this issue?
Let's not go with
let's not go there. Right,
yeah. The point is, though, that we're not going to the ICJ to settle a Zapadilla Key matter. We're going there to settle the Guatemalan claim. And I think that is the point that we need to look at. So if there was Zapadilla Key issue...
saying, why you brought up the point is because of the Senate being involved now and exposing their hands as having dealt or having to deal with this matter in the past, and having made agreements or successfully accepted certain premises for dealing with this issue, even without the public. Because, for example, in dealing with anything that has to do with the territorial integrity of our country, the public, the plebiscite of Belize should be involved, because they are the maximum authority and the people who the government is governing on behalf of. And the government, any entity within the government, any minister or whoever, or even the whole government, cannot just arbitrarily and capriciously, because they are allowed, they have won the election and are allowed or assented to become the government or manage the government, that they should just willy-nilly or capriciously just go ahead and just arbitrarily and capriciously make any kind of agreement with whoever or whenever they want. I mean, it's just and not telling the public.
Let's not forget, though, all right, number one, that you cannot discuss everything. You know, everything good for eat, good for talk. Number two, there are a lot of people who are just not even interested. So, and we spoke about that before, that the electorate needs to be involved. They need to let the government know, yes, we have an interest in this. If we're not doing,
but they're uninformed.
But then can't they do something to inform themselves? We're here trying to inform ourselves.
The government take these things and put them under what you call diplomatic pouch and secrecy acts, sir. And therefore, even the employees them in the government offices cannot, under the penalty of
those are some things. Those are some things. But I'm saying, if we was to go there and aggressively let them know that we want to know what is going on, I think it would make a difference. But for the most part, we just don't care. Or we just resign ourselves.
So when people like myself, maybe you or myself or Mr. Gregory or Mr. Mabit or other people like us, independent-minded person who at some point in time are in disagreement with whatever is it that whichever government is in power is exercising the powers to do, and we disagree. They say, okay, well, we are just, a couple of, people who are just, blow hard. The government should not be held accountable or should not respond to any of these individuals' queries or concerns.
George, wait a second. You want to go straight into the economic thing now?
No. This is a very, very pertinent and important topic. I was going to say, I told you so, G. Mike especially. In my conversation on the ICJ,
right,
I am saying that the status quo discussion that Guatemala has no legitimate case to present to the ICJ, I believe is a little naive. But whenever I go that route, G. Mike, and I attempt to carry the conversation forward, you kind of put it down to sour grapes. Maybe that don't happen already, don't go on, we don't make up our mind. And I'm saying to you that does not mean that we cannot continue to converse on the matter. That does not mean that we cannot continue to educate and inform our people so that they know where they are headed. And this issue with Honduras highlights the fact that there are issues that the public doesn't know about. There are issues that the politicians treat with either in secrecy or they treat with in consternation. And I'm saying in consternation because this one seemed to have caught them from left field. I can recall that the current foreign minister, Mr. Courtney, was all hunky-dory with the Honduranians just a couple months ago. And so he did not see, I don't think that he saw this coming.
But was this introduced by Honduras?
Since 1982.
The claim was back. I know this is not new to me.
Okay.
When I saw it cross Facebook, I said from a philosophical standpoint, well, it's like if Belize is ready to give up something,
let me get my share.
Basically saying, if Belize is ready to give up something, because my conviction is you're going to the ICJ and you're not coming back with your territory intact. Whether or not you agree with me is another thing.
Right.
So
Like it or not.
basically saying, since Belize is in the mood of giving up something, then why don't we present our case?
George, listen to me, because a couple of things, and I don't agree with you on a couple of things for sure. One thing is that, and you're trying to say to me that I'm saying every time you say we should discuss it, I'm saying we shouldn't. I'm saying we should not discuss it with an end towards making Guatemala claim strong or making it seem as Guatemala is the the victim here. Guatemala is not the one that's in the right here. We are. This is our country, our territory, and that's why we're fighting for it. But again, as I said to Mr. Brackett, if you have a territory and somebody else has a claim on it, you either beat them up and tell them, boy, I left my thing alone, or you take it before the court. And this being the highest court in the world, the ICJ, which on which sits 15 very learned individuals from 15 different countries, and not one is none is I don't think the U.S. is on it. Certainly Guatemala is not on it. Israel is not on it. So I think we don't have anybody in there with any kind of bias or axe to grind or anything to gain from it, to say, oh, we going to take question from Guatemala, from Belize for give Guatemala just to appease them. I don't see those councils that are on there. Those 15 highly learned gentlemen would go that road.
G-Mike, I'll do you a favor, and I will send to you a paper that was published by one of the universities in Chicago. I don't want to say the University of Chicago, but it's one of those universities in Chicago. And the thesis of the paper was that the ICJ is a fundamentally flawed institution. And they gave a number of cases in which the ICJ did not rule according to law.
Or is it according to what they did not want? The
court itself is subject to other considerations.
But you cast an aspersion.
Apart from jurisprudence. This is not Judge Mivett saying this, you know.
Well, it is Judge
Mivett
saying
people
it.
From the University of Chicago basically saying these are cases that we have evaluated, and we are showing you.
So now you're
the
putting
court itself is not circumspect.
You're putting another fly in the ointment here.
No.
You never make the man finish, Mr. Chairman. That's why I never get that point.
But how much? How I have to finish for say? He said he does not believe.
You try to interpret half of what the man said
No,
in a different context.
Listen, did he not say that according to a study there that they're saying that the ICJ is a flawed entity? Is that?
And he was intimating that him he said that.
I just wanted to put an exclamation point, G. Mike, that you believe that that the ICJ is an entity without fault, and so I just wanted to make an exclamation point. But you are saying that there's these learned judges, and they will come down on the side of jurisprudence.
I would think so.
Just like how you said that, believes that for you, Mr. Brackett, who is also a student of this subject, will agree with me that there's 100,000 Guatemalans in Belize saying that this place is for Guatemala.
I have not heard Belize, Guatemala and Belize. Hold up. We'll not run past it. Do not run past it. I am saying to you, I have not heard any Guatemala, and no Guatemala would dare say that to my face in Belize. They might go to Guatemala and say that. Hold on. I can also tell you that there are many Guatemalans who will tell you why we are happy that there's a Belize here that we could come to, because life over there is not nice. How about that?
G-Mike, this is a testimony. This is a personal testimony. Some years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, while the Guatemalan military was getting set to intimidate Wilma here, my niece, who lives in Georgeville with my mother is now deceased, God bless the dead mama, was basically saying, yes, we'll not make no Guatemalan chance you. That island is for Belize. Stand your ground. What was happening in my mother's kitchen was my sister-in-law was sharpening a knife to stab my niece, because she's basically saying that Guatemala are for Belize, and it was fortunate that my brother, the husband of the woman, was there to pacify the situation.
You made a misstatement, Mr. Mivett. You made a misstatement just now. It's on record, sir, that Guatemala is for Belize. Belize is for Guatemala.
No. I am saying, to say. No. It's not a misstatement. I'm relating the fact that this woman is saying to my niece, my mother was shocked that Belize are for Guatemala.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's fine. This is what she's saying. And she was getting set to murder my niece.
That's why I'm telling you.
I am just saying to G. Mike, watch what you say.
No,
Make I give another example.
Hold up. But you see what you're saying. No, hold on. You see what you're saying. No, man, one example at a time then. But you can't just run past things, George.
All right.
So
because you would say,
you would say that's why I am telling you that people, they are not going to say that in Belize and get away with it. Your mom is sharpening a knife to stab your niece because she said Belize are for Guatemala.
know my sister-in-law.
You're mixing up again, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
You
I'm
mix things
surprised.
through.
I'm surprised they don't stab you because you would have said the
Well,
same thing.
I am
You said the
surprised
same thing.
also. I am surprised. If I was
You
there, I
are-
would probably be the first one. Because I would have been cheering for Will Mejia.
You
I would have probably been dead by now by knife. By a Guatemalan stabbed in my own home, claiming that this is for Guatemala.
Yeah. So
Example
anyway.
number 2. You could go back to the archives. There was a Guatemalan gentleman who was taking out a portion of Belmopan to settle on. This was a portion that was reserved by the mayor of Belmopan. When the mayor basically got the security forces on this Guatemala, and you know what he said? It's in the archives. He basically said that I look for mobilize the Guatemalan military to come after Uno. So the point that I'm making is that although these people are here, their heart is with the fatherland. And somebody needs to do the academic work. You can't just assume that this is not how they feel. And you know why I'm saying that? Because Mr. Brackett will agree with me that in 1938, the Guatemalans did a book that they call the White Book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically a thesis that says, not only that says Belize is for Guatemalan, but
How
they
they will
say
succeed.
white is for Guatemala.
But
They,
George,
they printed 6,000 at that time. And it has been taught in the school true and true.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, they could have printed 1 million. What
They
I'm
could have
saying to
printed 1
you,
million, but it's having an effect.
but what I'm saying to you though is that maybe we should have been saying in our school that Belize is for Belizeans, and maybe we should
Long
have pledged
overdue.
our allegiance,
You know what I mean?
and maybe you would not now be fighting Guatemalan's case because
What?
I'm convinced you are.
No. Take that one down, Mr. Chairman.
You and your friend Leonard Brackett right here.
You're the accused before Mr. Brackett in the
You like chance way up the truth, Mr. Chairman. You get fun out of chance way.
Two are on the same side.
Mr. Brackett is the most objective person I know.
One the search for every reason you can where Guatemala would win. And why would you want to do that?
No. Take that, Mr. Chairman.
Why would you
Mr.
want to
Chairman,
do that?
you're being disingenuous when you make that kind of statement, man. Because remember, this is on public airways, okay?
Yes, and
Let-
people listen to what you guys say.
Okay, but you can't put enough we mouth when we're not the same man. That's the point.
Every time,
You ascribe to us what we're not in advocating, and that's
I'll
not
tell you-
fair.
Well, I'm telling you why. I could explain everything I say. I know just when say it like that,
All
like
right, why are you
I'll
saying-
run over it and try hope you don't see it or miss
Why-
it down the road. No,
why are
I
you
will tell
saying-
you why I say it.
Why are
Because
you saying
every
that
time-
I am trying to give Belize to Guatemala?
Every
Is that
time-
right? This thing is
Because
treason. It's high treason.
well, my God, if you let me speak, I will. every time in particular, I have said that we will win this case because Belize has solid ground. You or Brackett jumps up and say, no, we can't win this because so and so in that 19 something or
We never said that. I never said that.
Or 16
I never said
something.
that. I don't talk like that. Then kind of words that not come out of my mouth in any kind of format and that kind of way. That is what I'm complaining to you about, sir. I don't know. Sometimes maybe you forget parts of the things and you just remember certain other part, and maybe a little truth seem to be the whole truth. When in fact it's not, because it's leaving out so much of what constitutes the real truth.
Do you
And that's why I'm complaining.
Hold up. Do you believe, Mr. Brackett, that Belize can win that case at the ICJ?
You asked me
Yes
that
or
already
no?
and I answered it and I answer it again.
Yes or no?
We could win or we could lose. And I explained to you, if you allow me, why we could lose.
Why we could lose?
Because I think you need to-
But this is what I'm saying.
I think you
That
might
is
be
what
interested
you
in that.
focus on. Why would you focus on that? If you can win or
Sir.
you can lose, why would you focus on the can lose instead
Let me
of
explain
the can
something
win?
to you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I
sir.
need to explain this to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any good lawyer can advocate both sides of any issue or any case. And depending on whose case or depending on whose side he's advocating on, he should be able to win that case. Any good lawyer should be able to, because a good lawyer will know the pros and the cons of the case in order for him to figure out how to win the case, even though it's maybe a failed case, or, his client may be guilty as hell.
You know,
But his job is to get his clients off.
You know, to have
scotch-free.
one liar, you to have one sophist. You tell
No. I'm telling you a fact. I'm telling you reality.
a liar.
In reality, you cannot just go to a court and assume that you're going to win just because you think you have all the evidence on your side.
What role does the court play?
Especially if you...
Hold on, is the court not there to dispense justice? The liars might not be, the liars might not be, but the court is there, and the court will listen to the arguments, and you would hope that whoever is in charge of the court, whichever judge or magistrate is there, will use proper discretion.
Sir, under international law, which is different from under local, tort, civil, or corporate law, or even state laws, under international law, okay? These learned gentlemen that are sitting on our case, like, for example, right now, they will not pull out of their back pocket all the knowledge and historical precedents and what they call stare decisis cases.
Why not?
And say, okay, on that basis alone, they are going to arbitrarily rule in favor of Belize because Belize deserve to win. No, sir. The matter will be dealt with according to the presentations on both sides. In each instance, when those documents are filed, there's a contra memorial. After the contra memorial, there's, it's like different phases, right? But at each and every stage, whatever is filed in those documents is what those learned people are going to be restricted on in terms of adjusting international law and its context. So I'm saying that to tell you this, because you will hear about it after the fact.
I don't believe that to be a case.
Sir, you will hear about it after the fact. I'm telling you what is coming.
No, I don't.
If I'm alive, I would like for you to say, yes, Brackett, you told us so. So let me say what I'm about to say or trying to say.
Save us the annotations. Let the man have a say, no man. You just talk for 10
but
minutes.
the man in a midstream of the argument.
But how long is that stream? You're not going to stream, you're going to ocean.
No, I always interrupt other people for make I get in points, so I don't have a problem with that. So I deserve an apology. I owe Mr. Morrison an apology for at least not conceding to him, even though while I'm not talking, he had just finished conceding his time to me.
Thank you. I do believe that in evidence, the court does look at what's presented to them, but they also have to go from what's historical right and wrong. And that is also going to weigh on the mind and in how they present their judgment. It's not just going to be that you have presented this as a case. It's going to have stare decisis. It's going to have based on historical ruling that the court has made in such type of matter. And what I have seen, I did not believe we should go to ICJ initially. Okay, and even so, I question it. But we are there, and so I have to deal from my perspective. We have to deal with the fact that we are there, and we need to kind of see how we come out of this with as much of our territory, if not all of our territory, intact. I also believe that the ICJ is a kind of a they're kind of arbitrators. They try to settle everything in a manner that kind of makes you not so happy, but you not so displeased, because that's compromise. That is what I believe that court is more about than anything else. So I'm looking that probably Belize will lose that area that we call the adjacency zone, but I don't think we're going to lose much more than that, and that's how I see it. But also on the premise that because you go to ICJ, you are conceding, I don't believe that's the case. I believe that I would have wanted us to go to ICJ at a stronger time, and I would have wanted us to go at ICJ with also including the diaspora vote as part of making that decision, because I believe that was such a broad case that involves all of Belizeans, no matter where they scatter in the world. And so when the government rushed to push us without considering those and just ignoring that type of claim, I was disappointed. But now that we're there, I think we just got to face it and deal with it and try to have the best foot forward on it.
We need to close ranks, don't you think?
One of the person that is leading this matter on behalf of Belize is Mr. Assad Schuman. Okay?
And
that's a gentleman to whom Mr. Price received a set of documents that kicked off the 1981 riots. Remember the heads of agreement?
Mm-hmm.
That Mr. Price said he read it so many times and didn't understood it. That Mr. Courtney just in the Senate reflected and pointed out that he and Mr. Schuman have divergent views on certain issues. But Mr. Schuman is the man that is supposed to be heading up. Now, why I'm saying that is because, remember, cases have been lost sometimes for lack of competence, and cases have been thrown sometimes, for malicious reasons.
Okay? There are a couple of things.
Sorry. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
There are a couple of things because I see a lot of people bring up these two, Webster proposal and the heads of agreement, as to fuel and further their arguments. And they neither are relevant because neither went anywhere. The fact that they were proposed is neither here nor there. None of them.
Some of our learned people are looking at this as irrelevant. And those are the things that got us to where we are today.
It's shocking.
They were never, in fact, which one was released by Philip Wilson?
Webster was 68.
Right. And then the particulars was
critical limit in 68. It started in 67.
The 17th proposal, the 13th proposal.
What came of the Webster's? What came of the Webster's proposals? Where is it now?
We're still dealing with it as you and I are talking here today, sir.
How are we dealing with it?
They're still being implemented.
We're talking about what is being implemented. What is being implemented?
The Webster proposal has been reworked into the heads of agreement.
And into all the subsequent agreements since then.
What came from the heads of agreement? What came out of, hold on, Bracket. What came out of the heads of agreement? Was it passed or was it defeated?
It was defeated.
All right, so
it was defeated.
It's neither here nor there.
No, it's here. It's still here with us. It's still haunting us.
In what way? In what way?
You don't need to take my word for it, sir. You need to go to some of the strongest QP.
No, man. Let's not get emotional about this thing, man. We're being
that will give you the very same facts as I'm telling it to you.
What facts?
You don't have to believe my words.
Wait, what words? What facts are you giving me that I'm not accepting? What?
Ask Mr. Hector Silva.
I'm not asking nobody. I'm asking you, Mr. Bragg. What facts are you saying you're giving me that I'm not accepting about the Webster proposal and
that you're of the impression that these things are dead and gone, and I'm trying to say to you, these things live on in all subsequent agreements that we have had, even as of the point in time when you and I are now having this. Well, we are now having this discussion, sir. Yes. I'm trying to say to you that a lot of people are unaware.
The fact that we're talking about it means that it's being implemented.
No. That's a different point.
How is it being implemented? How is anything from those two documents being implemented in the way we are governed today? Give me one. Yes, George, go ahead. Give me one. One.
After the heads of agreement was quote unquote defeated, a process of negotiation took place concerning both the British, the Guatemalans, and Belize. Belize was more in a position after 1981 of active participation. Before that, Belize was effectively an observer. What has happened since then is that we have ended up in a scenario where we now have an adjacency zone. The Guatemalans have said to us, listen, we recognize your independence, but we don't recognize the territory of Belize as yours. Yes. And this is why the Guatemalans have said to us, if you want to continue the negotiations or you want to go to court with us, we are not calling your western border our border. We are calling it an adjacency zone. It's an adjacency zone of our country.
Is that
and the recognition of Guatemala's to Belize territory is not the territory that we now call Belize.
I'm not hearing
just the northern part of Belize that they're agreeing that they acknowledge.
There's hold up. There's an old saying, and I hate this cliche, but let me repeat it. We can sing together, but we can't talk together. I know they hear no, really. 200 I need to repeat what I just said.
But then, all right. I am repeating the fact that the Guatemalans have been belligerent and they have been determined that they will not let go the Belize fish. They are basically saying, listen, people east of the east of the adjacency zone. After many years, we recognize your independence, but we don't recognize the territory as yours.
Does that make any difference? We are still
It makes a
independent.
lot of difference.
Are we not still independent,
you know why it
sir?
makes a lot of difference? Because now you are at the ICJ, and if you look at the nuances of the ICJ, you will see that we have been manipulated there. You will see that we have
again. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what you don't want to accept. This is what you don't want to accept, Judge Myvid. Is that you're looking at the negative in every sense. You're looking at everywhere that we can lose, and you're not looking. You need to be more positive, my boy. You need to be more supportive.
I am not positive. I need to be more supportive.
You are more supportive of. You're more supportive of Guatemala's cause than
I am not supporting Guatemala, G.
Yes, you are.
If you are walking on the left-hand side of the road and you are proceeding against the law, I will say to you, G. Mike, you will be hit by an 18-wheeler. You're on the wrong side of the road.
But are we on the wrong side of the road? Why do you bring that in? You're saying that Belize is on the wrong side of the road?
I am saying that Belize need to look at the objective facts before it and do not hug up the thing that it wants to hear.
But
people like you.
But what do you want to hear? What do you want to hear?
I want to hear the facts presented
so that I can evaluate. We walk together.
I can evaluate.
We walk together.
But us winning.
Where we differ is that. Where we differ is I'm hoping for a different outcome than you. Simple. I'm hoping that we'll win. That's all. And you could hate me for that if you want.
I am not hating you, G. Mike. I am saying that you have chosen to bury your head in the sand. In light of other evidence that we have not discussed.
I am here discussing it. I keep talking about it. I keep reading about it. I keep looking into it.
You're not reading the right script.
Right. You want your script that suggests that Guatemala has a strong case. That's the script you want to read.
History.
What history? That what? That what we have been here. Listen, you realize that in law, for 30 years, you could sit on a land and you won it?
No,
by
that's not anymore. That law has been changed.
And you could sit on it forever and can't win it.
No, you can't win it. That law has been changed.
Okay, but
has been changed, Mike.
There's no squatters' rights anymore.
No squatters' rights anymore.
Are you serious? You'd have to show me that document then. You really? We could talk about it here. We could talk about that here, but I want you to understand something. Now, when a matter comes up like that I'm not certain about, I will research it. So, I will bring it up to you next time with the proof that you're either right or wrong. And if you're right, I will say, Judge Myvid, you're right. But if you're wrong, you need to accept, boy, you know what, G. Mike, you're going to point this time. At least.
Well, G. Mike, I will be the first one to say, G. Mike, you are Moses. You are Moses with 2 tablets, with 10 commandments. I will be the first to say that. But when I was active in the union, G. Mike, I thought the same thing. I thought that you could squat on a piece of land. And at some point, I think at one point it was after 11 years or something, you could get it. That law has been changed, G. Mike. I suspect it could have been under the UDP. It could have been under our friend Commander Zero. Why am I saying this, G. Mike? One of my friend who brought it to us while she was in legal training, Miss Jackie Willoughby, made that plain and clear to us. What I will do, I will basically call Miss Jackie or text her tomorrow and try to get the portion of the law, and I'll send it to you, G. Mike.
That would be nice. Thank you. Yeah, I could move on for that one day. But again, though, the point is that, and here's why I say that you seem to be on the wrong side of this argument, because we as a country, we would, and you have to ask yourself, would I like for Belize to remain independent, sovereign, and with all territories intact, or would I like to see Guatemala win this case? And if we decide, like, when a court, and we have decided that, whether we did it with the inclusion of the diaspora, and let me say this at this point, that I agree with Gregory on this point, that in matters like these, the diaspora should be involved and should have a vote. I don't think the diaspora should have a vote as such, like a proxy vote for elections, because it is not fair for them to live over there and leave us to suffer the consequences of any ill decision made. So I don't
I
think
have a big thing for you, Mr. Mike.
I
But
think,
that's for the future.
hold on. Let me. I'm not finished yet, sir. I'm sorry.
I'm just putting you on notice.
You're done putting my notice, right? Because I don't want to put me on my notice 3-4 times, so I can't finish my point, man. The point is, who that? CY now? Who the boss? CY, you need to mute the mic though. The point is that I believe also, and I wanted to make this point, that the diaspora should have representation in the House of Representatives at some level, whether even as just a senator appointed from the diaspora. I think that the diaspora is too major a force for us to just leave out there and disenfranchise as such, no. But not to allow them to vote with a U.S. citizen, number one, or any other citizenship, and not allow them to vote in our elections. So let's go.
Mr. G. Mike,
there's a buzz.
Are you saying that somebody needs to be resident in a country that they are from to feel a commitment to contribute constructively to that country?
No, I'm not saying that.
Well,
no,
it seems
no,
to me
no, say that. No, run past it, man. You ask me a question,
all right,
I have to answer it. No, I'm not saying that. If you want to know what I'm saying, I can tell you. All right.
What are you saying?
That I'm not saying that you don't need to be resident to contribute to the country, because but I don't think you have to contribute in a way of being a part of a political party or a part of a political ploy. I think you can contribute in other ways. You can give advice. You can be a part of some kind of oversight committee. You can contribute in myriad ways, but you don't have to be a representative of an area that you don't live in.
But G. Mike, then I will ask you another question.
Yes, sir. And you'll allow me to answer that before you assume the answer to what it is. Because you ask me, not to tell me the answer, right?
The Constitution basically says that
yes,
a citizen that belongs to any nation that opposes the independence and territorial integrity of Belize shall not qualify to be a citizen of Belize.
That's
let I get to the question.
Yes.
As we speak, some years ago, I had asked one of my colleagues who is in the area of immigration, how much Guatemalan citizen have we accorded Belizean citizenship to? And at the point he told me there's about 55,000. My question to you, G. Mike, is do you think it is right for us to be anointing these Guatemalans as Belizeans?
All right. Now, but there are two different issues we're dealing with here, and let's be clear on that, right? You cannot. There's a fallacy of argument called whataboutism. You're what about this to support the other claim. So at that point, no, I do not think that the Guatemalans should be allowed to be citizens at all, because it's in violation of the Constitution. But this is where the constitutional reform should be looking at something like minister's discretion, because this is what allows them to be citizens. They've all gotten there as a result of ministers making a discretion, and which allows them. So it becomes perfectly
violating
legal.
our constitution.
No, it's not
saying that they can afford to have these people without country.
You're not violating.
But they can have their own Belizeans without country.
You're not violating the Constitution. You're not violating the Constitution, because the ministers has the discretion.
That's the discretion in a different area, sir.
Has the discretion
they're conflating.
So G. Mike, the minister has the discretion to
do anything
bypass the Constitution. Remember, there are two things, G. Mike. There's the word of the law and there's the spirit of the law. Are you saying that the minister has the discretion? And when I use the minister, I mean plural, because it's a collective bunch of them.
Correct.
Have the discretion to waive the word of the law and the spirit of the law to say, Guatemalan, as long as you say, I wanted a Belize, then you could be a part of Belize. Are you saying that, G. Mike?
I am saying
that is anti-constitutional.
Are you answering this, sir?
I'm asking G. Mike.
Am I allowed to answer the question? Because
yes,
you asked me directly.
Yes,
now,
sir.
Let me repeat. I don't think that the Guatemalans should have been allowed to come in. If you're asking me if, as a result of the minister's discretion being written into the Constitution, that the minister, yes, has the discretion, it is not defined what that description
Not on those
is
issues,
for.
Mr. Mike. That's the point. That's the difference.
It does not
He does not have
specify
discretion
that.
on those
It does
particular
not-
issues.
it
The
does
Constitution
not-
specifically
it does
says.
not. No, it does not. Where in the Constitution? Here's my Constitution right here. Make we do this. Make we argue this
See-
from facts and not emotion. Let us argue it from facts. Where?
Okay,
here's-
well then why don't you put it for next Tuesday and then we all bring our citations?
Now, where in the Constitution?
Not next Tuesday, next
sir,
Wednesday.
Where in the Constitution does it say that the
I
minister?
can tell you it is in the same section. I think it's section 27, if I'm not mistaken. But it's the same section that tells you that Guatemalans cannot be Belizean citizens. It's within that same section.
They're not 58 or so.
Okay.
I think if the Constitution specifically includes something or excludes something, then it works. But
It's the highest power. It's the highest law of the land.
yeah,
And if you go
but
and
if it's specific,
disaggregate that
what I'm saying, if it
or
is-
use ministerial fiat, which is what these idiots are trying to do right now to run our country, means that anybody that comes in can change the Constitution willy-nilly.
yeah.
Or just
What
ministerial
I'm
fiat.
saying, what I'm saying, if the
No, it's-
Constitution,
that would-
Make the man
What-
talk, mister.
what I'm saying is, if the Constitution specifically excludes something, I don't think a ministerial discretion should enable that thing. And that's where we get into trouble with ministerial discretion. How broad is it?
It
is.
should be
And
taken
it-
out. It is, bro.
and I think that probably that is something that could be litigated to the Supreme Court of Belize.
Yeah, I
that-
think so. It
Which
could-
hasn't
That
been done.
determines just how broad and what it means. Because to me, it means that, yeah, maybe I don't have to do a little survey and to give you a permit to operate a business, but I don't think it should go so broad as to allow what something
Violate the Constitution.
explicitly in the Constitution is named as cannot be done, that we
Gregory-
can allow it.
Mhm.
No,
You see-
I believe they have done it, and that's how they have premised
Too many times,
and
which is
moved
part of my complaint.
forward with what they have done. But I also believe that it is affront to the Constitution. It is probably illegal, and
Yes.
it should have been challenged time and time again. But for whatever reason, none of our lawyers will stand up and face a minister or
Not
or
even the
government
opposition.
and
Okay.
stand in defense of our Constitution and the people of Belize.
You would need somebody rich to get in a lot of money because they don't work for nothing.
Well,
Let's
you
put
said the
that-
lawyers. I would say the lawyer, politicians, and the parties that they represent. Because when one party is in,
Mhm.
the other party is the constitutional opposition, but that is one
Right.
point that they agree on. We shall
Mhm.
not rock the Guatemalan boat. And
Mhm.
I believe that it's a part of the geopolitics that is being played,
Exactly.
gentlemen.
Exactly.
If you look
Foreign
at
interest.
the road to the ICJ, there was immense sponsorship by the British and the Americans.
And others.
I
And
was not
others.
a part, I was obviously on the other side. The budget that we looked at, gentlemen, that we spent $17,000 that we could have afforded the parties, which would have been the BPP, the VIP, etc. So you don't know how that will end. If one of the parties has $30 million to spend,
Yeah,
and the other party has a fraction of $1 million, you know how you're in.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
I
think they
believe-
had $22 million that were granted to them.
But it's more than that. Remember the
There was a
government
lot of
itself-
government money that was
the
used as
government
well,
itself
and government
is
employees.
deploying resources, direct financial resources,
Yes.
as well as
Mhm.
in-kind financial resources. So
Mhm.
I am saying this to say that the Americans and the Britons basically want this thing done. The Americans basically have larger fish in Guatemala to fry, and they are willing to see Belize go to Guatemala. They have never been on the side of Belize. The British are the masters of diplomacy. They want to basically say, listen, we have put this in the hands of the Belizeans, and we have nothing else to do with this. Try and see the larger geopolitical picture. Mr. Assad Schuman himself said that the British came to him one time and said, man, why don't you give up peace of land? Man, don't give up PG, man, make the thing go away. And this is what the British is saying.
But if
I
they-
am tired of
hold
this.
on, but they said that at that time. They're not saying that now.
Well,
They're
they're
not
saying,
saying
well,
it, no?
they are basically saying this is the Pontius Pilate phase of British diplomacy. We are washing our hands completely off of this situation.
George,
what
George, you're looking
do
for
not
every
blame us.
But
possible.
we Belizeans have been telling them to do so. We've
You're
been
looking-
castigating
you're
them and
looking-
telling them that
you're
they are
looking
good for nothing, that they raped us, they pillaged us, they took all our resources, and now they are leaving us as, you know, as defenseless.
That again,
We did not help
that
ourselves,
again,
Mr. Brackett.
that
We did
again,
not help ourselves.
really.
We have been very ungrateful to the British.
Yes, we are. We have been.
We have
I
basically
agree.
said
But
we want to get independence and we know the world, but we know if you don't want
no,
to do
that's not the ungrateful part that we have gotten. That's not the ungrateful part.
We will still do what we need to do.
I really do not. We have not been fair. We really have not been fair because, see, all right, right now there's a clamoring to get the Queen off of the money, get rid of the Queen, get rid of the. We need to move away from England, but yet we got this Guatemalan claim hanging over our head. We
Exactly.
Belize cannot fight Guatemala. Let's make that plain. We could fight, but we want more miracle of biblical proportion for us to even make.
That will not. They will compare that fight. They will compare that fight to the fight of St. George's Key.
My boy, then just burn up the only boat the Coast Guard got. How you like that? So,
and then they said that one Coast Guard guy did it. Imagine.
We're not going there, but
and that's
anyway,
such that we need as a country, you know. But anyhow.
But Mr. Chairman, all right, I don't know if we exhaust this topic, but we have been on it, and we know that there's some commonality, but there are differences that will never be bridged between.
I would hope that the one thing that is not a difference between any of us is that we hope that Belize comes out of this ahead, or at least with I go along with Gregory's word that we lose minimum, if anything. The adjacency zone now, and you made a point about that we decided to, but then you use it as if to suggest that was a part of the proposals or the amendments.
The man has done the bill houses for it already, Lakayo.
The bill house?
All the way over to east side. For them, they give them permit to go build houses there.
The ranches are in the adjacency zone?
Yeah.
That is
big ranch. No little ranches either.
To a point made by Gregory in relation to the facility of the court to try and be a win-win for parties. There's an island off Nicaragua that Colombia owns.
Colombia and Nicaragua.
Yeah, the ICJ basically ruled and said that the island, and this after the Nicaraguan, I think that place up there, you know, it ruled and said that the island is really for Colombia, but the waters around the island is for Nicaragua. And you see, it's a kind of win-win.
How can you have an island? How can you have an island without water around it? One person who won the water and the other. I mean,
see, again,
that's the ludicrousy of those type of ruling, right?
It is, but it goes to the point that Mr. Morrison is saying that you have to watch the ICJ.
Yes, listen to me, though. Hold up, and there's something else you need to watch. I don't think that they want any kind of destabilization in this area. In particular, America having it in her backyard, because Mexico is sitting there quietly and not saying anything. If they destabilize this area, it will not be good for anybody. So the ICJ might also take that into account, and that would work in our favor.
Who is presenting that part of the argument, though, on our behalf? Or on behalf of,
well, we have trained attorneys going there. I mean, I'm not even near what they're.
But the man ain't scared to tell us what is going on. What they're going to say.
You can't say that, man. You can't say everything where you carry that court. It's ridiculous. You get the next side too much.
But disclosure as a part of the court requirements require that you tell the opponent everything. So you can tell your opponent, but you don't tell your client. Tell me about that part. Explain that part to me.
I'm not even gonna try.
But G Mike, isn't that part of the process of going to the court involves disclosure?
Exactly.
Where you basically put forward,
without which there is no process, no procedure.
The points of argument that you will base your arguments on.
But can't we just blame that on our own government? Because we have often where our foreign ministers or prime ministers or leaders of government goes abroad,
Bunch of idiots.
makes decision, have conversation, and they never come back and report to the people and say, I went to China, I went to Taiwan, and here's the agreement, here's where we stand, this is what I went to discuss, and this is
because they own the government, then pay $150 to some of them people, and they feel like they pay for their money already, so they own the rest of it to the spoil, to the victor goes to the spoils according to them.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
They don't pay for the $50 for their vote.
I agree. But that's the disrespect, and that's where we as the people have not demanded better from our government, that they are responsible and should be responsive to us in these areas.
I believe both governments have failed us in that regard, in particular in foreign
100%.
policy. They certainly have not been adequate.
100%.
Can I suggest that me and you, as another detail, take on the task of trying to find out what Foreign Minister Courtney meant while he was on Jules's show when he said there are some surprises for us at the ICJ.
What did he say?
But on a serious note,
they know what they are leading on to.
Greg is asking you a question.
I would want to know what that means. To be frank with you,
he said, according to George Gregory, that we have some surprises coming at the ICJ. Whether pleasant or unpleasant, he did not say.
Did he say that? Whether pleasant or unpleasant?
No, he didn't say that. I'm saying he didn't say. He just said surprises.
Yes, that's what he said.
And I did not hear it. So I would like to hear what he said.
Man, they pay off the money.
I will.
We are stupid.
I don't expect that I'll get no news. I have to get maybe something from the inside, from the grapevine.
I hope you would not have used the word surprise and just dropped it like that. If he had said we had some good defenses and some good arguments coming out, I felt good. But I don't like surprises.
That kind of like George kind of argument.
Well, this is what G. Michael basically said, that the foreign minister is siding with Guatemala, and this is why I want to find out exactly what the foreign minister is being analytical, and he was probably taken broadside.
You're having fun, aren't you? You're having fun, aren't you?
No. G. Mike, like I said, this in all seriousness. One of the worst person that you could have representing us, G. Mike, are really lawyers. And you know why? Liars think one certain way, G. Mike.
But you're going to court, who else you want to get, Papa?
You want to get one team.
Well, you have a team.
You want to get one team, not of lawyers. You want to get one team where include lawyers,
but you get one team of
technical persons.
Right.
Mr. Lindsay Belisle basically said to them, "I'm not going to court, but there are certain issues dealing with maps and surveying that you guys don't know about. What a scientist will do. I got my scientific mind."
Wait a minute. All that has been done. We have territories.
It has not been done.
We have territories marked out, man.
Yes.
But we don't need that again. Come on.
Basically, what Mr. Lindsay is saying to them is that you are going to court with a certain prescription, but you don't know that there are some issues you are going not to get 6, 7. Wait, listen, man.
You, Lindsay, and Carl should have in a jail. I'm telling you that. You, Lindsay, and Carl should have in a jail.
So, Chairman,
I hear you.
I'm a part of your panel.
Yes, but I'm here. You quote these people in a way that's detrimental to Belize's case.
No, it's not.
You know, I agree with George. I agree with
there's
you.
A question you assign some nefarious some nefarious thing to it. Some nefarious motive.
George, I agree with you. You always need your expert witnesses on the issues, on the facts.
Exactly.
And someone like Mr. Belisle or others like him that are capable of explaining and understanding map and boundaries and such should be part of the team. To what involvement they have, I don't know, because I don't know how the court is structured, whether it listens to just lawyering or whether it listens to experts in the field of survey and map.
If they are presented.
Yeah.
they are present,
and so
they are given time.
but Mr. Morrison, that's my point. I don't expect that somebody who is schooled in surveys or surveying with making primary arguments to the court.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we want is that at the point that there's delivery at the court, then those lawyers who are making our presentation should have the benefit of all the technical considerations underpinning this case, because it's not just Belize have an 1859 treaty and they had a 1931 treaty, Guatemala no go about to the business. That's not it at all.
Yeah.
These cases will be determined by arguments and evidence, and the Guatemalans, they have their own set of evidence and they have their own set of legal arguments.
And they have top legal minds with a losing case that could end up winning the case.
You guys believe that they have a better case than we do?
No,
they don't. I don't even know what kind of case they have.
And legal. I can tell you they got better lawyers than we have, even though we got a better case, and we could end up losing if we case because of we just acting like fools and present ourselves there with with the hand in our pocket and not do homework and think that these liars on the bench when do for we homework for we.
How could we not act as fools? What would you recommend we do to not act as the fools that
in the first instance? We did not negotiate any of those treaties that we are trying to abrogate. We should have been there. If we were to go to the ICJ, we should have never been there without the British and their archives and all their notes and everything else that transpired contemporaneously during the time of those agreements being set in stone.
But we are an independent
Those are the things that I argue.
We are an independent country. We got independence, and then we're away from England. We have to handle our own affairs. Why would you want England to go represent us? Then you would not trust them. They have not been trustworthy.
You know what? I really hope we had spent our time discussing the constitutional reform and how to, even what the government is hoping to achieve by that.
It's a farce.
Moving back on this
ICJ thing.
It's all a flim-flam and a farce.
We have no control over.
I agree.
We have more immediate issues that we could probably affect.
But I don't know, Judge, I don't think we should be really, and that is true, because we have made a decision, George, whether it was the one you wanted or you didn't want, whether you think it was fair or not fair, whether we should have included more people or not. The decision was
because
made.
We made a decision means that we should not be having as strong a team as we possibly could have.
That's not the argument, sir. That's not the argument.
That's our point. And for whatever reason, it's being evaded and or oversighted.
That is not my point, sir. That is not my point, if you please.
We should be there as prepared as possible.
Yes, that is a given. Everybody, for any question, should be prepared.
We are not. We are not as prepared as we should be. That's my point.
That is not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying we should be united and should close ranks and proceed as one country, not as two want to fight.
Just being united is not the.
We cannot go.
We can be 100% in favor of one issue. That is that Belize should give no lands or nothing to Guatemala. And okay, how united we are in that particular issue.
You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't.
The court will not necessarily rule in our favor because of that unitedness.
If you want,
we got to do our homework.
If you say that, you're going to tell the court what to do then.
That's basically what the special agreement was indicating, sir. And I kept on saying that to you guys quite a few times in the past, and even up to today date, I'm still repeating myself ad nauseum.
Yes, you have to.
We give them people sick, we broke over with damn head, and then we want to turn around and complain.
But G-Mike, what if we are united on the wrong premise and the wrong arguments? Has this occurred to you?
What wrong argument? That Belize belongs to Belizeans because that's the only
No.
That's the only argument I'm having, Mr. Judge.
In your mind, Belize belongs to Belizean, but that
yes. Chairman, you like to simplify these things, and these things are serious matters, man.
It does not, G-Mike.
What does not? It does not belong to Belize? Belizeans, Belize, hold up, is that what you're saying to me? Belize does not belong to Belizeans? That's what you're saying to me?
Come on, Mr. Chairman. Be generous. Be generous. Be nice. Be nice once in a while.
Your government is saying, G-Mike, listen to me good. Your government is saying that we are at a point where we are asking the court to determine what Belize is. That is what your government is saying by electing to go to the court
You know,
They're
I'm
saying that
sorry.
we are uncertain.
I'm sorry about this, but I've been trying to put my finger on what your problem is, and I think I finally got it. If a Green Party was in there, it no matter what they may do, you may hear this thing on different Sankey. Yes, that's what it is. The government that's taking it there is the problem. I understand, so it doesn't matter.
Once again,
Every government that comes here has got to be our government. How can it be my government and not your government? Just because
G-Mike, every night I watch Lauren Lake. Every night I watch Lauren Lake on these paternity court suits. And once again, I will be like Lauren Lake and say, G-Mike, you are not the father of this discussion. You are completely wrong. I am not. This is a Lauren Lake moment. G-Mike, you are not the father.
But explain that.
Your argument
explain
Mr. Marvin, be a bit magnanimous, man.
Explain what I have been saying to you that has been wrong.
G-Mike,
what have I been saying to you that has been wrong?
If you are going to court, then you need all the evidence that you can put your hand on.
That is a given. That is a dog.
You should not restrict yourself
you don't
to
have
the
to
evidence
watch. You don't have to watch. You don't have to watch Maury Povich or Lauren Lake to know that if you're going to court, yes, Mr. Brackett, you need to be prepared. Yes, you should have the best.
That's all I'm asking for, sir.
Hold on.
That's my only request.
Yes,
go there as strong as possible, win the thing, and let's go home.
Yes, you should. You should have the strongest case. You should go well prepared, but you should also go as a united front with one purpose in mind. We want to win this case, and I'm not going thinking that the next man got or dig up evidence that could help him to fight his case, because I've heard you suggest things where some Carl tell you that, oh, Guatemala got something where really make Billy's case weak. Even if I find that, I will hide that. I will burn it.
But that doesn't make it untrue. But this is not some Carl. This is a foremost historian. This is a foremost historian, G-Mike, that basically said, you see all of this song and dance don't have about the 10th of September being a myth. Guess what? It's not. This is a man of repute. This is a man of academic repute.
That makes him a man of repute. That's right there, that statement.
He is. He's based not that one singular thing. Mr. Carl is saying, Dr. Carl is saying, don't know homework, try to find out what are the Guatemalan facts and figures. What are the arguments? G-Mike, what is the Guatemalan argument? This is another question.
That they won't believe.
Yeah, that's not an argument. That's a conclusion.
That's not a conclusion at all. That is not a conclusion. That is a claim.
A conclusion.
No, I'm not a conclusion. How could that be a conclusion?
That's no. That's basically saying that the sky is blue, and I'm asking you, well, why is the sky blue? You are saying the sky is blue because that's your conclusion. I'm asking you, how do you arrive at that? And so I'm asking you.
You have to be careful of your choice of words, because.
Sorry, sir. I don't want to.
We certainly cannot suggest that. And I understand what you're saying now. Now that you have explained yourself, but Guatemala has a claim over Belize, and you're saying, oh, they're strong with that claim. They teach it and print all kind of books and whatnot. Yeah. That has nothing to do with the claim. That gives no credit to the credence to the claim.
Why are you saying that?
We're saying you don't own Belize because we've had the Battle of St. George's Key. We have the 1859 treaty. We've been here for 200 odd years. Our people have decided we don't want to be Guatemalans. We want to be Belizeans. That is what we have to be standing behind, man.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, I am not saying that have you ever heard about the viceroyalty of Central America?
No, sir. Please tell me about it.
It used to be controlled by the Guatemalans.
All right. Please tell me more. That is not enough.
Under their territorial conquest and what was granted to Spain as their territorial hegemony, Guatemala got a part, Mexico got a part, and other people in the south got another part, and north of that, Canada and the French and the English and all the other rest of them, divvied up the rest of that. But staying with the Belize Guatemala.
Have you heard of the Monroe Doctrine? Have you heard of the Monroe Doctrine?
I've heard of it, and as far as I'm concerned, it's just another. Well, let me not get into that, please. Don't get me into that particular discussion, because that's neither. We don't have the time for it, not the place. This is not the place for it, because Anyhow, please. Let me get distracted. Focus back to the original point.
I'm trying to be constructive here.
The Viceroy. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
The Viceroyalty of Guatemala had claimed Chiapas, which is now a part of Mexico. They had claimed northern Verapaz, they call it.
Leonard, we're running out of time, but you know what?
Sir,
I am very impressed by your knowledge.
You asked the question. I'm trying to explain how people get to understand these things in their own context, without which people who are not informed spew misinformation to other people, not knowing that they are giving misinformation. It's unfortunate, but it requires a little bit of time to understand these things.
I want to suggest, Mr. Chairman, that this forum is lively discussion, but it's also further for people that will tune in and that will listen concurrently while it is going on and after the fact. I want to challenge the panelists to read the works of Bianchi, whom was basically hired by the American government to give an objective view of this Guatemalan situation. And basically what Bianchi said is that I've considered everything. I've considered the thing that you mentioned just now, G. Mike, the Monroe Doctrine. I've considered the Viceroy of Guatemala.
Everything.
And from what I see, I cannot see how Guatemala can own this place. Unless
you just got out of jail. You just got out of jail.
Who?
Wait, you just got out of jail. You just got out of the jail. I'm going to put you in earlier, but go ahead. You're right.
See, here we go. You were oblivious to. Anyway, what the gentleman said. What the gentleman said is that the reality might change with immigration from Guatemala and Central America generally, and that is exactly what we are
happening
seeing
today.
That's exactly what we are seeing. So, on a serious,
which our current government is promoting.
I'm recommending, Mr. Chairman, that we encourage listeners and those people who tune in to basically get an access to this book. It's not widely available, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Hold on a second.
Good arguments.
What is the name of the book again?
It's I will snapshot it and send it to you, Mr. Chairman. But it's by J. Bianchi. You know when the book was written? 1959. It's
J. Bianchi, B-I-A.
I think it's B-I-A-N-C-H-I, but I will snapshot it.
That was a prelude. That was a prelude to the Webster, before Mr. Webster was appointed as the ambassador in charge of. It was before that, and it was a prelude and the basis on which they realized that Guatemala had no real substantive claim that could succeed in a court of law, international law at that, and therefore they had to go the other way, which was to hoodwink and finagle and haggle with the Belizean so-called diplomats. The British were nobody's fool, and therefore the Guatemalans could never, under no circumstance, exercise any power or control over Belize, either migratorily, which was what the Article 7 rule was all about, to facilitate the migration of more Guatemalans into Belize as compared to British people who were so far away from Belize. And therefore, the Guatemalans decided, okay, if we can't get the Cart Road and we can't bring more people into the place to take it over, then we will either get it by reason or by force, which is what was established in their constitution thereafter, after 1939.
May I ask you a question? You were saying that the Cart Road was written into that document as
yes, sir.
In order to facilitate Guatemalans entering Belize, or to use
that was the Guatemalans ambassadors who was doing the negotiations in 10. He wanted to go back home and report to his people back home that he got something out of the British.
Or was it access to the deep port?
No. It was no access to no deport. These are what you're talking about access to deport is just a recent phenomenon that they're just for years they've been regurgitating this claim in different forms.
You're saying the card road was to afford access to Guatemalans to come into Belize
for commerce.
Well, why would they?
For commerce, but much more so for demographic impact.
Serious, and that was
that's why the British didn't go for it. Even all the while they were saying that it was because Guatemala failed to fulfill their obligation on a timely basis because they had a war with Salvador and because of this and that and that. The British were nobody's fool. They were smart people. They were top diplomats, and they never allowed themselves to be put or placed or painted into a corner. Historically, we have known that. So that's not a point of contention or dispute.
Some people who differ with that. Now, some people would not agree with that. The British right now got their own problems already.
Well, I mean, you're stretching it out a little differently than how I intimated, but I agree with your point all the same.
Yeah, because you can't just make a statement like that. Anyway, that after year 38, usually we run to about year 30, you know. Gentlemen, we will not get to Judge Maivid's economic thing yet.
We still not touch this Belize thing.
Yes, you're right.
Allegation, changes and expansion.
We have to do that next week.
But the discussions have been very fruitful as far as I could perceive, and I hope that it continues in a positive way and serves the public interest because they are public matters. You
should share your WhatsApp with us because what we could do, we could discuss things also. Maybe prior to the show, if something comes up, you know, if somebody has something to share, we'll share it amongst each other. I have George's and I have Gregory's. I don't have your WhatsApp. If it's a secret document,
I had ceased using it. I had ceased using it before a couple of times.
I see.
And I had no interest in pursuing it any further. First of all, because I don't have enough time to dedicate to it, and it's just another avenue for me to get pressured for time, and I don't have the time.
You serious?
And therefore, I've been falling down on too many other things as a result.
Oh, this is the show done. I hope they clip this out. But I don't want you to explain to me where having a phone takes away from. I mean, you don't have to dedicate yourself to time. I'm sure you got a couple of minutes when you're up on the bathroom, on the toilet. You could check your messages and see where they are. You know what I think?
Sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Are we off the air now? Are we just among ourselves right now? Are we still on the air?
No, it says live.
Okay, I can't dispense with that type of information.
All right. Well, that's all right. Another time, please. Yeah. All right. So, we have to find another mode of communication, or we could just communicate amongst ourselves and share with you when we get on the show. That'll be fine. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure again. The discussion has basically started out to be about the Bogota Treaty and why it was brought up at such a late date. What role it's going to play, whether it's going to affect it positively or negatively. We segued into the whole claim thing again, which I think is neither here nor there because we're going to the ICJ. That is decided. I would hope that we can go as a united front, as one country, because we
wouldn't make, as far as those judges are concerned, it wouldn't make a difference whether we're divided or united.
I see. Okay.
But the point is well taken in terms of an expression of national solidarity, I think we're all on the same page. There's no division there.
It might not make a difference to the judges, but it would make a difference to us, I believe. Because we win. We don't decide we win, no? So
we've done there already. We've done there in the second phase already.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Gregory, have a nice evening. Mr. Maivid, Mr. Brackett. CY, pull one out, bro. CY, of course, people, those of you who are listening since we're still live, we try to build this up, and it requires only effort, only finance and whatnot. So if anybody likes the idea, would like to be involved, please reach out to any of us on the panel. We're all connected, email, etc., Messenger, Facebook. All of us are on Facebook. And certainly, if you'd like to support us in any way, You can contact CY. CY has been running a little message on the bottom how you can contact him and contribute to our cause. We'd like to make this happen, and our overall objective that we cannot get away from is to unite Belizeans at home and abroad and make this one country. A wonderful future for our country, for our future for our children to grow up in, and for us to grow old in. One of these days we might get old, you know. You just never know. Just no hurry. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night,
Respect
sir. I wish the government, whether PUP or UUP, would just, listen to some of these discussions and see if there's anything that they can make use of for national purposes.
George got good strings and connections. He will make sure they have it.
God bless.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, people in social media land.